You sit down to eat, and there it is. Your dog sits perfectly still, eyes locked on you like you are the only thing in the universe. Most owners assume this is a simple expression of hunger, but the mechanics behind this gaze are far more complex than a search for a meal. Modern dogs live with their survival needs completely guaranteed. They have reliable access to water, shelter, and high-quality food on a schedule. This reality transforms the mealtime stare into a strategic pressure canteen, designed specifically to extract extra resources through sheer persistence. Over thousands of years, dogs refined the ability to read human body language and detect our internal emotional shifts. They recognize the exact moment a human feels guilt or social discomfort. By maintaining eye contact, a behavior that usually signals a threat in the wild, they intentionally create a tension that we feel a biological need to resolve. Dogs perform a specialized kind of behavioral mapping on their owners. They learn which family members are more likely to surrender food, which specific meals trigger the most human distraction, and exactly how long they need to remain still before you soften. Here, the dog functions as a behavioral economist, running daily experiments to find the highest return on their investment of attention. Every time you offer a piece of chicken to break that awkward silence, you validate the dog's strategy. This consistent reinforcement allows the pet to effectively manage your behavior, causing a slow collapse of the authority dynamic in your household. This dynamic is a radical departure from the social food rituals of their ancestors 15,000 years ago. In a wild wolf pack, eating is a rigid, hierarchy-driven event. Lower-ranking members watch the leaders eat, as a formal acknowledgement of the pack structure, and as a way to monitor the safe distribution of meat. This diagram illustrates the oxytocin gaze positive loop. Scientists discovered that mutual eye contact between humans and dogs triggers a simultaneous spike of the love hormone in both brains. This chemical release creates a self-perpetuating cycle of trust and attachment that bonds the two species together. This biological pathway effectively mimics the bonding mechanism between a human mother and her infant. It is a trait that wolves simply do not share. Even when wolves are hand-raised by people, they show no such oxytocin response when gazing at their caregivers, marking a profound evolutionary split between the species. The stare is an incredibly successful biological hijack of human caregiving instincts. By evolving to trigger our internal bonding chemistry, dogs engineered a way to secure their permanent place as protected members of the human family. When owners finally recognize this manipulation, they often decide to suddenly ignore the dog during dinner. However, removing a reward that has a long history of success triggers an intense psychological reaction in the canine brain. This graph shows what happens during an extinction burst. When the expected reward is removed, there is a predictable, jagged spike in the intensity of the behavior. Instead of giving up, the dog responds to the confusion by trying much harder to get the result they used to get. This red peak represents the moment the quiet stare escalates into demand barking, pawing, or jumping. The dog is essentially doubling down on their effort, desperate to force a response from an owner who has suddenly become unpredictable. If the owner surrenders during this high-intensity phase, they accidentally reinforce the tantrum. The dog learns that while a simple stare no longer works, a louder and more aggressive intrusion will still get them the reward. This frustration is often compounded for modern urban dogs who live in social isolation. Without a steady circle of other dogs to help them regulate their emotions, they become hyper-dependent on their owners for a sense of balance. Ignoring a dog without providing any other direction leaves them in a state of chronic distress. Instead of eliminating the behavior, the owner creates a louder, more anxious animal that is simply searching for communicative clarity. Successfully extinguishing the mealtime stare requires pairing it with positive reinforcement of a calm, incompatible behavior. The goal is to provide the dog with a clear alternative that actually works to get them the engagement they want. Owners must wait for the exact moment the dog disengages from the table, looks away, or settles quietly on a designated mat. Rewarding these specific moments of calm teaches the dog that relaxation is now the only currency that earns a response. Acknowledging a dog's gaze through soft verbal praise or a calm touch after the meal provides the structured leadership they are truly seeking. This confirms their place in the social group without rewarding the pressure campaign. This daily ritual serves as a foundational training moment for emotional regulation. It teaches patience and self-control, strengthening their overall emotional resilience in high-stress environments, like strict crate training or busy public walks. Mastering this psychological dynamic turns the dinner table into a place of mutual respect. You stop being a target for manipulation and instead step into the leadership role that honors our 15,000-year-old interspecies partnership.